Hello.
Welcome to Kansas City.
Thank you.
Is this your first time here?
It is, yes.
All right, so you were born in London, you live in California now.
No, I was born in Panama City, Florida.
Okay, that's right. You lived in London, and that's where they found you for aliens.
Well, actually, I lived at RAF Lakenheath, which was an Air Force base over in England. Sorry.
I've done my research well.
But Aliens was filmed in London, so technically I did live in London during filming.
London was there somewhere. Look at that. All right, so take me back, if you would. You're 9 at the time.
Yes.
And they come to you and they say, we want you to be in a movie. What was that process? How did you get involved in the beginning?
Well, it all kind of, can I take this off here? It all was kind of like a freak thing that happened. I was eating lunch in my school cafeteria. I went to an Air Force Base school, and usually I went home for lunch because if you lived nearby you could, and my mom just happened to not be home that day. So a casting agent came around and took pictures of sort of what James Cameron had in his mind as what he would like for the part of Alien, the part of Newt. They took my picture. I didn't think anything of it at all, and then a few days later, they called and said, "Oh, well, someone took Carrie's picture. Would she like to try out for a movie?" I really had no concept of what was going on, but my parents just said, "Would you like to try out for it?" So I said, "Sure." So we had a lot of auditions at my school, and then they brought about 5 or 6 of us from my school to London to Panama Studios, and they did auditions there. And then they called back and said it was between myself and a girl in America. So they were flying Sigourney Weaver over to audition with me to see kind of how our chemistry was. And then after that audition, they called up and said I had the part. And again, we still really didn't have a concept of what I was getting involved in.
So first day on set, when you've got all of this now going on around you, you've got these cameras, you've got these people and hair and makeup and lights and whatnot. How did you react to that? I mean, when it was the for real, you're on set.
Well, I was very lucky because between James Cameron and Stan Winston, they were very amazing, and they tried to shelter me from a lot of things. And part of that was by telling me how everything was done. So before the actual filming, I was there and I got to see the sets and see how everything was. They tested my hair, like they had to cut it because it wouldn't frizz out enough because it was too long. They tested my makeup and everything, so I was used to all of that. What actually worried me the most was we had to go and eat. Everyone went to the cafeteria and they ate, and I was upset the first time going there because I thought everybody would laugh at me because of the way I was dressed. I had no concept, they were filming Little Shop of Horrors at the time, so there was people dressed all crazy in there, but as a 9-year-old, that was my concern, was that they were gonna think I was weird, so.
And at 9 years old, going in and working at Pinewood Studios, where so many films have been made, there's no sense of the history of the place. But now looking back on it in hindsight, is your feeling about it any different in how much of an impact this is? Because Aliens was a really big hit in the 80s, and now here we are 30 years later, we're talking about you're doing panels, because after Aliens, you didn't do any more acting.
No, well, and at the time, I didn't realize how big Pinewood Studios was, or even how big half the people I was working with were, because at 9, I had no concept. Now looking back, at the time I knew they had, there's a special set there for James Bond, and it says 007 on the side. Well, I knew James Bond. So I thought that was pretty cool, and that's where they were filming Little Shop of Horrors. So Wardrobe knew all the people working on that, so they took us over and I got to see all the sets when they weren't filming and things like that, which was really cool to do. But I didn't go into acting. I didn't realize until, I'm trying to think, I think it was about 8 years ago, was about when I realized how big Aliens was. And I don't know if I still really have a complete grasp of it, because I filmed Aliens, and then we finished filming in February, And then we did voiceovers and little things like that. And then I moved back to the States in May. And then Aliens came out in July. I really just wanted to be a normal kid. You know, so I didn't have any concept. I contemplated going into acting, but I wanted to make friends. It was a culture shock going from England, which my mom is English, so even though we lived on an American Air Force base, we were with my mom's family when we weren't at school or work or whatever. So I was essentially an English child. It was a big culture shock going to California, as you can imagine. So it was hard, it was tough, and I just wanted to kind of get used to everything and make friends. And then I always wanted to be a teacher, so that's what I ended up following that path instead. And then I get.
Do you currently teach 4th grade in California?
Yes, I do.
Okay. And now that you've been doing this, you know, you had the 30th anniversary, you were out at San Diego, you're starting to do all these panels, and now there's discussion about a new Alien with Neil Blomkamp doing essentially Alien 5 or Alien Second, whatever number it is, that ignores the death of Newt and Hicks. Have there been any talks? Have you even thought, well, I wonder what would be like? Have you thought about coming back to the character?
You know, it's been 30 years. I don't know if I could do it again, and it's a lot of time, a lot of effort.
There might not be a slide this time.
Yeah. You know, I'm a mom, I'm a teacher, I have 2 kids, my daughter's in competitive soccer, so I'm pretty busy a lot. I don't know. I mean, obviously, you don't really know until it happens to you. I wouldn't be opposed to doing like something small, like maybe a cameo or something like that, but I know about as much as all of you do, because I've heard little bits here and there when I'm at conventions. This summer we did a convention in Houston, and there was like 8 or 9 of us that got together for that. So of course it came up in one of the panels there. So I hear little snippets here and there. At San Diego it came up again. But I mean, I know about as much as you guys do, and like the day that, I think it was Alien Day, when he released a picture that looked eerily like me about 5 years ago, so yeah.
Okay, and we do have a microphone set up here, so if any of you have any questions, go ahead and line up there and we'll get started. Yes, sir?
Hi, Carrie.
Hello.
Being 9 years old and being around the xenomorphs, what was that like? Was that pretty terrifying, or?
You know, it should have been. But it wasn't, because it was a stuntman who I was friends with, who they used to let me do kind of crazy things. And so they'd be running around without the head on, and then we'd be getting ready to film and they put the head on and that. But I'm scared of dogs, more so then, so I was just pretending like it was a dog chasing after me.
Thank you. Hi, Carrie.
Hello.
Haven't seen you in 22 years. Hi, how you doing? Welcome
Pretty
to Kansas
good.
City.
Thank you.
You miss anything from class of 94 at all?
Just so you know, we went to high school together.
Yeah, we went to high school together. How about I?
You know, I don't miss high school.
Well, I just want to say welcome to Kansas City. I'm going to go back to the booth. So.
Thank you. I'll see you later.
I'll see you.
Now, the whole wanting to be a normal kid and doing all that, now that you're doing the conventions and whatnot, are the people in your neighborhood looking at you a little bit differently, or do they know that you're Newt, or has that?
It's pretty old news. My dad we moved to this town 30 years ago, and I've pretty much lived there. You know, I went to college and that, but I live there. So, like, my students, I went to school with their, you know, aunts, cousins, moms, dads. So it's not really a big deal. And it's kind of my secret life, because I don't go around saying, oh, I was meeting aliens, and oh, I'm going to this place. You know, my friends know, but it's not something that I really broadcast.
It's cool that you're a 4th grade teacher. Of all things that you wanted to be, first of all, when did school start, and why did you want to be a teacher?
You know, all my life I was wanted to be a teacher. I used to line my dolls up and I teach them different things. I mean, ironically, I was in 4th grade when I filmed Aliens, so it's kind of the only year I can't associate with. What was the other part of that question? I can't remember.
But I assume the school's not started yet.
Oh, well, that's why I'm here Saturday and Sunday, because teachers went back on Thursday, so I had meetings Thursday, and then I had meetings yesterday, and then I took a red eye out, and then I leave Sunday night, right after the convention, because I have meetings again on Monday, and then students start on Tuesday.
Do you find it to be fulfilling?
I love it. I love it every day. Well, 99.9% of the time it is very, very fulfilling.
The world of Hollywood, real life, that whole difference between, you talk about culture shock coming from England to LA. When did you start doing conventions? And was that itself some kind of culture shock for you? Because I mean, you like you said, you haven't been around any of this, and now suddenly here you are, you're doing all of these conventions. There's these fans coming out. San Diego is huge. You know, is that its own kind of culture shock for you?
Yeah, I mean, at first it definitely was. I guess they've been looking for me, and I'm pretty hard to find, and I like it that way. And they finally, someone found me, I'm trying to think, my daughter was about a year old, so 8 years ago. So 2008, someone in London found me, and they said, hey, you want to come to a convention? I truly and honestly had no clue. Like, the only conventions I'd been to were teacher conventions, which are very different to Comic-Cons. So I thought, oh, a free trip to London? What the heck? My family lives there. So we went, and it was the London Film and Comic-Con, which 8 years ago was a lot smaller than what it is now, because I went to it last summer, and it was a completely different world. And it was really neat, and it was kind of weird for me, because I'll be sitting up there, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm sitting next to that person, oh, there's that person, you know, I'm doing selfies of myself and sending it to my friends, with, like, people in the background. So, I mean, it was a culture shock. The next one I went to was Dragon Con in Atlanta.
Right.
And
That's a whole other creature.
that's a whole other ballgame. And that was kind of my introduction to the bigger ones. And I've done a lot of different ones, and I just did San Diego Comic-Con, which is on a whole different level. It's amazing. It's amazing to talk to fans, and as a military brat, I always love it because you always get someone who was in the Marines, and they come up to you and they say, you know, Aliens meant so much to us, and we watched it before we deployed. And for me, to think that I had a small part in them going off and them feeling like they were, you know, part of a family, and, you know, them being able to relate to it, for me, that is like probably the biggest compliment I can get.
After you filmed and you moved back here, how long was it before you actually saw the movie?
So we moved back here in May, and then it premiered in July, and so we went down to LA to watch it. I was supposed to go to London for the premiere of it, but school had started, so I didn't.
Did it feel any surreal to see yourself up on screen like that, or?
No, and I think it's because I was so young. Like, I was just like, and Sigourney used to say to my mom, you know, it's so weird because Carrie just thinks this is normal. And it's normal for 9-year-olds to do stuff like that. And for me, it is. You know, I see the abnormality of it now, that it's not. And like, you know, we have pictures on the wall, and my daughter will say something like, or, you know, there's something that Sigourney has given her or something, and she'll be like, oh yeah, my friend Sigourney gave this to me. And my friends will say, that's just not normal. And that's kind of when it dawns on me, like, I've got some pretty cool friends, you know, but and like watching it on the screen, I saw it again in LA they did an Alien Day screening of it around the country. And it's nice for me because my husband goes to those things, and I think while seeing it on the screen for him is kind of neat. It's my daughter is now the age I was, and she eerily looks like me. So for me, it's almost like watching her. But like, look, there was only one part that scared me that I wasn't there for it to be filmed. And throughout the whole filming, James Cameron was always trying to scare me. And I'd be like, yeah, whatever. It's just, or he'd like throw like a rubber chicken at me or something, and like it wouldn't scare me. Yeah, okay, whatever, okay. But at the very beginning, they go when the Marines come onto the colony, and there's the 3 aliens in a thing, and one jumps out at Paul Reiser. Oh, I didn't see that being filmed, and I screamed. And by this stage, nobody knew who this kid was, and they're screaming because my part hadn't come on yet. And so everyone kind of looked at me, and then I didn't realize James Cameron was sitting behind me. And so he tapped me on the shoulder, but I was still like getting shocked from the other one, and I screamed again, and he was like, I got you twice in like 20 seconds. So, I mean, it is weird to see yourself on screen, but I guess to me it's kind of normal, which is weird.
So your daughter can then play Newt in a flashback?
She probably could, yeah.
Do you have a particular, you talked about the stories of running around with the stuntman and Cameron trying to scare you, and then we had the story about the slide. It's on IMDb, and I kept busting the shot because you wanted to keep going down the slide.
It has been exaggerated. I didn't bust it that many times.
So what is the story on that? This is where you're hanging on and you fall down the chute.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yeah. So it was about a 3 or 4 story shoot, and it had this huge mat at the bottom of it, which, I mean, for a kid, that's like heaven right there. And then all the people working on the film had put like a sign up, and it was like adults £1, children free. Well, I was the only child there anyways. And so I was up there, and I think maybe once or twice I kind of messed up a little bit so that I could go down, and because I didn't mind then when I went up and down the stairs. And then James Cameron said to me, he's like, Carrie, as soon as we can get this done, and I always thought he knew what I was doing, but just this summer we talked about it, and he didn't realize that's what I was doing. And he said, as soon as we can get this done, you can go on the slide as much as you want. So I said, all right, let's go. So, yeah.
Bill Paxton improvised a lot of lines. How much did you get to play with what was in the script? Was that even discussed? Did Cameron even say, we'll do it this way, and then we'll try one and you can make something up?
The only kind of improvising that, because I am very much like, I guess James Cameron said to my dad, I don't have a lot of experience working with children. Do you have any tips on Carrie? What I can do to get her? And he just said, tell her exactly what you want, and she'll do it. And that's how I've always been. Like, you tell me what I want, and I'll do it. And I'll do exactly what you say. Like one point I guess, when I stick my hands up through the grate before the alien comes. So I was in the water, and he was actually on top, and he said, okay, I'm gonna say Sporty's line, it is XYZ. And once I say that, you say your line. So I said, okay. So we were rolling, and he didn't say XYZ, he said like ABC, and I said nothing. So then he's like, okay, cut. Carrie, what happened? And I said, well, you were supposed to say XYZ, you didn't say it. I mean, I was very literal. The only thing that was, I guess, kind of an improvise, but it wasn't, is at one point early on, James Cameron said, you know what, let's add a scream in here. So I want you to scream, and we'll see how that goes. So I said, okay, so I screamed. And then when I was finished, I kind of stopped and looked around, and everyone was just staring at me. And so it was kind of, I guess, an improvise, but like, then he said, okay, we're gonna use that more. But then I got laryngitis, and that kind of sucked.
You did a lot of screaming in that.
Yeah.
Now, I understand your brother was also in the movie, he was in a deleted scene. He played your brother
Yes.
in the film. Did you guys ever talk about the experience? Or?
Yeah, I mean, my brother got to come on set even when he wasn't filming. The school would let him out occasionally to come up, and he would spend a week here or there because my mom and I were living in London. He and my dad were at Cambridge, well, just outside of Cambridge. And so he'd come and do that. For me, it was cool because I'm on set, he and I are over there, my mom's over here, I get to argue with him, and I gotta hit him with my doll. And I was getting paid, and she could do nothing about it. So like for me, that was cool. I don't know how cool it was for him, but you know, it was never like I often get a lot, you know, like, oh, was your brother jealous that his part got cut out or whatever? My parents would never allow that to happen. Like there was no, I didn't brag, I didn't make fun of him or anything like that. It was what it was, and we were pretty much told that eventually one day there would be, you know, an extended version and he would be in it. So, I mean, it just, I don't know, it was never a big deal in our family.
So, if you were to go back, where do you see Newt now? I know I'm kind of putting you on the spot, but you know, 30 years later, just spitballing, where do you think Newt would be after all this time?
I mean, I don't know, that's kind of hard. I guess I kind of see her as taking over from Ripley. You know, I see that, because kind of, James Cameron had kind of set it up, and some people saw it, some people didn't, but there was a lot of frames that had Hicks, Ripley, and Newt. And he was trying to kind of set up that family. So in my mind, I always thought, you know, we went back to Earth and lived a happy life. You know, probably won't happen, and obviously didn't. But I guess I always just felt like, because in the movie, Sigourney and I had such a strong bond that I looked up to her as my character, and I guess I always felt like Newt probably would have grown up to be kind of like her, maybe do something similar.
Now you two kept in touch over the years. You say you're still friends with Sigourney. You still have that connection between the two of you. Would that make it easier for you to be on set doing this after so long? I mean, if all the stars aligned and everything worked out, and you just decided, okay, I'm going to do it. We're going to take 3 weeks in the summer and go play Newt again. Would it make it easier that you've kept in touch with her all this time?
Probably. I mean, she definitely eased my mind on set because there were some times where I was a little bit like I'm not quite sure what to expect, especially like in the Alien Queen whole thing and with all the gunfire and fire and all the crazy special effects that were going on. That I kind of looked to her, and when she was calm, I found out, you know, 30 years later that she wasn't as calm on the inside as she was portraying to me. But yeah, I think just in general, actors kind of play off of each other and how things are. I guess probably.
Anyone else have questions? Yeah.
Good morning. I found your juxtaposition of fandom conventions with teaching conventions amusing, and I was wondering if you might elaborate on some of the fun things you've had at teaching conventions. Thank you.
I don't know if they're fun, I guess, if you're into education. I went to one, it was in San Antonio, and actually my husband went with, because I had Miles, and he was off, so I thought, we'll go down there. And he would go kind of check out where we were going to go on the Riverwalk for dinner and things like that while I was learning about like math, reading, and all that fun stuff. I mean, I guess the way he described it was kind of like at nighttime, it was like Teachers Gone Wild down there. But, I mean, I guess that's...
My best friend is a math teacher in Corpus,
Ooh.
and I've heard stories about
It was pretty crazy, I'll tell you. I was like, whoa.
So do you have a specialty, you know, in 4th grade, I know depending on the school that you either you're always teaching math to all of the students or reading or do you
I do it all. I do it all, yeah. And I'm excited this year. I had my daughter in my class, so.
Crack the whip on that. Now, have you thought anything about the idea here? Because teachers
question a lot, and I guess, you know, there are things that, like, I do use it, because kids say things that you can't laugh about, but you really want to laugh about. Oh, awesome, thank you. That you really want to laugh about, but you kind of have to act like it's not funny, and sometimes they have to get in trouble for what they did, even though it's slightly amusing. But you know, I'm like the weird teacher, like I dance, I sing, I do all that stuff, so I guess I kind of do use that, although I can't sing and I can't dance, so it's interesting. But I mean, I guess I do kind of use that. I sometimes like have the kids do plays and things like that, and we use a lot of acting.
I'm assuming being 9, you made Aliens, that you had never seen the first movie because it would have creeped you out. And I assume that also if you had seen the first movie, Alien, would you have been too scared to death to do the sequel?
Well, actually, I had never seen it all through the audition phase, and then when they offered me the part, they did. Gail and her did say, the producer, she said, Carrie needs to watch Aliens before you sign anything. She needs to watch Aliens, which at the time, I was 8 at the time, and I actually thought it was funny. Like I thought it was like, I don't know, I thought it was funny, which is ironic because Aliens is probably the scariest movie I've watched since then, because I don't like scary movies. So I mean, I did see it, but I had a very different reaction. Now I wouldn't want to go watch it because it would probably scare me. I have like that active imagination, and I like imagine it was going to happen around me or something.
Now, Gail and her producing The Walking Dead, do you get questions about showing up on that show at some point? I mean, are people regularly asking you when you're going to get back into acting?
I do get asked that a few times, and there's been a couple people who have talked to me about doing cameos on different things and that, and I said if it works out, it works out. Then I wouldn't be opposed to it. Just right now, I don't have a lot of time. Yeah, I mean, it was funny because in San Diego, Sigourney and I were talking to Gail separately, and I said, you know, I'm sorry, Gail, I haven't watched it. And she's like, oh my God, Sigourney hasn't watched it either. She's like, how can you have an idea? It would terrify me. I would be convinced everywhere were zombies. And that's exactly what Sigourney said.
Yeah, she said as soon as that idea gets implanted in her head,
Yep.
she can just see them everywhere.
Yeah, that would be me. Yeah.
There was, you keep mentioning cameos. You'd be okay with cameo or doing that kind of thing. The recent sequel to Independence Day got a lot of fan blowback because they replaced the actress who played the president's daughter from the first movie, who was about that same young age, and they replaced her. And there were a lot of people that were not happy with that. Since this is your part, would you be okay with somebody else playing an older Newt? Because there are a lot of people out there that think you're the only one that needs to play him. If Newt comes back, Carrie Henn needs to play him.
Yeah, which is interesting because I guess about a year and a half ago, I opened up a Twitter account, and I get a lot of questions about it, and a lot of people saying